over.
Okay, my turn.
That was so cool. Oh my God, that was awesome. We are here at FanFest for the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb in Colorado Springs. We have been here all week learning all about the Ford Performance Super Mustang Mach-E that's right behind us right now.
This whole week we've been out at the track. We actually drove up Pikes Peak ourselves. We talked to Romain Dumas. We sat in on an interview. Like, it's been so much fun this week. We're going to share all of that with you right now coming up. So stay tuned and
let's go.
well, this is super exciting. If you don't know this guy, this is Romain Dumas, the record holder for Pikes Peak. And this year you're driving this, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So this is your 10th year going up. You know it like the back of your hand. What is the biggest challenge for you now, being so experienced going up Pikes Peak?
You know, in Pikes Peak you have all kind of challenge. You know, first of all, the weather.
The weather, yeah.
First of all, you never know which kind of weather you can have, or even during the run, you know, from the start to the finish line, the weather can change. You can have some rain, you can have even some snow. One year I finished with snow in 2012. So, first of all, the weather. On top of that, you know, the road. The race will be on Sunday on a 9, 10 p.m. So normally we are practicing in the morning at 5 o'clock. So
right.
for sure, it will completely change in terms of grip, in terms of light, in terms of also inside the car. You know, it will be warmer. For the brake, it will be warmer. For the tires, it will be warmer. So it's very difficult in Pikes Peak because comparing when you practice in the morning so early than Sunday when it will be the green flag at 10 a.m. or something like that, you know, it's completely different. So you have to readapt all the time in Pikes Peak. This is really the key of Pikes Peak.
So you went up in the super van, the super truck, now the Super Mach-E. Each one is getting a little bit better. And you have a lot of influence in that. So it's not just the engineers are like, we're going to give you a better car. You are very involved in giving them feedback, even during the practice runs. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. You know, at the end of the day, for sure, with age, you have experience normally. Right. And Pikes Peak, you know, running time for sure is very important because it gives you experience. On top of that, to be a driver is for sure, a fast driver is a priority, but also to have good feedback for the engineer and to work together. That at the end of the day, you feel confident inside the car to push a little bit the limit. That's a target number one.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like even us, we drive around our car, you got to have confidence in the car. And I imagine that's what a lot of the practicing and the testing is to give you the confidence so that no matter what you throw at it, you know the limits, you know what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. I mean, you know, and again, you know, it's a fine line to find, you know, to be close to the perfect, you know, run, to perfect line, but not to go
right
over, you know, because, you know, it can be very dangerous. So you have to play with this line, but not too close, you know, that's important.
So this Sunday, you were King of the Mountain last year. You have the overall record from years ago. Do you have an estimated time or goal time?
Well, I hope I can go around 8:30 or a little bit less. That will be, you know, like that we will improve our actual record for the category, I mean. And that will be the target number one. For sure, if we can win our category, it will be very nice also, you know, for Ford Performance, for all the mechanics, etc. Also for me, I have to say. And after we will see for the overall. Last year we had a chance that we won overall. This year, for sure, you have much stronger prototype, much lighter, etc. Not like a road car. So we will see for the overall.
Well, I wish you luck. It looks like we have some great weather this weekend. So I think the conditions are going to be right. The car's right. The driver's right. So it looks like everything's lining up great.
Exactly. I hope. Keep fingers crossed and we will see.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you very much.
quick question for you. So you've gone up 10 times. So you've seen the changing terrain, right? Because we hear that it has been changing over the years, the roughness of the road and everything. Do you have new ways to tackle that each year? And like each year, do you go and like assess it? And now you're like ready for that, for the changing terrain?
I mean, for sure with the weather, the weather is so hard here in the winter that the road, even if the line are the same, the road is changing all the time, more bumps, more hole. Sometimes you have bumps the year after you don't have any more because everything was moving. So the tarmac change. So for sure you really need to readapt a little bit each year about which line you will take or how you will avoid big bumps, because unfortunately year after year mainly we have more and more bumps, so we have to a little bit go around to not upset the car so much. So yeah, you need a trick in Pikes Peak sometimes.
That's crazy. It's not like you have that much room to go around, because we went up there at like 25 miles an hour and it's just plunging down. So do you feel like it's no problem for you now, or do you still get nerves?
No, for sure I'm nervous, but I don't want to look on the right side, or I don't want to look down, so like that I have no problem.
And I feel like I have to point out something here though, that this number right here, that's for you, right?
Yeah, that's for me. So 3 because it's the third Ford that I am using, and 10 because it was my 10th time this year in Pikes Peak. So the number is quite cool. Yes, you are right.
This is literally your Super Mustang Mach-E, and
exactly. I will bring him home with me.
I know, right? Go get groceries in it. Such a pleasure to meet you, and we can't wait to see you go up that mountain.
Thank you.
Get it.
So if you watched our video with the Ford F-150 Super Truck, Lightning Super Truck, excuse me, Zach was there on that. But now we're here at FanFest, and we're going to talk to Zach, not necessarily about the rally, but the Super Mustang Mach-E that's coming soon. So you guys have been here all week.
Yeah.
You've been working on this project a long time, but specifically, how has this week gone with the Super Mustang Mach-E?
Yeah, this week's been challenging, but rewardful, like very rewardful. We've been pushing really hard on every aspect of the car and trying to, develop everything we can to get the best time we can on the mountain.
And some of those challenges, you had some snowy weather, icy weather earlier in the week, wind today.
Yeah, weather, correlating how the vehicle should feel relative to simulation versus real life, and making sure that our simulations are improving just from what we see on track to what's actually happening, and then setting up the vehicle correctly.
Now, you said simulation. We're going to dive into this part, because one of the things people ask us is how does a Super Mustang Mach-E translate to next year's Mach-E? We're not going to take those motors and put them in.
Yeah.
But the simulation part has a connection, right?
Yeah. So from what you would see from a race to road kind of aspect is you're seeing the methodology, the tools we use are the exact same tools we use at Ford production side. So the simulators, we go from the same simulator that we use for all of our motorsports down in Charlotte. The Ford Performance road car guys come down and use it as well to develop their side, and for performance vehicles in general. So it's those tools. It's the simulations on the suspension, how we develop a suspension from ground up to aerodynamics. So everything that we do, we push it to the limits on the Super Mustang Mach-E. So we stress test it there, so the production side is A-okay, ready to go.
That's really cool, yeah. And a lot of us, we hear the word simulator, we're thinking just a racing sim, but it's way more advanced than that. You guys are collecting a lot of data, learning a lot that you can put into a production or a race car.
Yeah, so our simulator, we use our ECU, or VCU, I guess, more of not engine, but more of a, but we put that in the loop, so we can sit there, control how the vehicle handles. Lifetime, we can change how the suspension setups are, aerodynamic maps, how any aspect of the car, tire models, whatever. We can We can change every single little thing. The simulator, it's not just a sit in your house simulator. The whole thing moves around. It's a massive effort.
That's really cool. Now, one of the biggest changes, we obviously went from a Lightning-esque body last year to a Mach-E-esque body this year, but another big change was the suspension this year. You guys went with a completely different suspension, correct?
Yeah, so it's a full ground-up redesign. powertrain is an evolution. Everything else, though, has been a full ground-up redesign. So chassis, we shrunk it way down because it's a Mach-E, not a truck. So it's a full new chassis. And then with that new chassis design, we're like, well, why don't we change the suspension and be a little bit better for the mountain? Because we're trying to push the limits as much as we can. So we went from an outboard suspension to an inboard suspension. We added a third element to try and control the aero platform, just because it's a lot of aero on this car. 6,900 pounds at 150 miles an hour is no joke. So yeah, and then just from there, also just lightweighting the vehicle as much as possible. So looking at every single aspect from, you can see the race livery relative to last year's, we cut the weight in half because there's half the livery, to the magnesium, magnesium wheels, to titanium 3D printed uprights. So it's a full effort.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's just like this ongoing effort. And it to me, it seems like it sort of echoes, Jim Farley has said, like, Ford is in the business of passion vehicles. So it comes with stuff like this, the Mach-E Rally. We love this. Even in a boring desert sand, I think it looks fantastic. But something like the Super Mustang Mach-E, and down there we have the NASCAR prototype.
Yeah.
What more passion can you want than pushing the limits of racing?
Exactly, pushing the limits of racing, pushing the limits of what we can do, and making sure that what we do, like on the Ford Performance side or within our demonstrators, is pushing the limits to help develop more onto the Ford Performance side or Ford Production side.
It's too many 4 Ps, right? Well, best of luck. I know it's a huge team effort. I know you guys got the best driver that you could possibly have, but you have a great team behind it. We're really excited. We've seen the super van. I got to ride in the super van. Watch that video. The Lightning super truck looks fantastic, but I got to say, as a Mach-E fan, I think the look of that is that your favorite look out of all of them so far?
It looks like a proper race car now. It's getting closer and closer to the best proper race car. But yeah,
it like when it came out, it just looked like something
menacing. It's a nice looking vehicle.
I love the silhouette teaser that you guys had too.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just gushing because it's been such a fantastic week. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you for the interview. Best of luck. Anything else we need to throw in for last things, other than maybe a King of the Mountain? Oh, I know what we were going to do. I knew this is why I was stalling. So I even assumed that you guys were going to go for the record this year, but really there's a huge difference between open and unlimited, and you guys have picked what you're doing.
Yeah, so we're sticking with the open class because we're trying to stick to a silhouette, the production silhouette of a vehicle. So it's keeping the production intent, but looking at what a full-on race car production car would look like. So fender flares, a full aero kit, and just pushing the limits. And then from that, we're trying to beat our own record with Supervan 4.2, winning the open class this year, and achieving the overall record for open class.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's a huge difference between open and unlimited, but it's really impressive what you guys have done with the open class, and I think it's really cool because it is exciting to see something that sort of resembles what I drive on a day-to-day basis going up the mountain. So anyways, thanks again, and best of luck.
Thank you.
So you join me and Zach and Mike to talk all about Mustang performance, electric Mustang performance, which I'm excited about. But before we get into anything on the cars, which I can't wait to nerd out about the cars, especially with Zach getting into some technical details, I think it's important to talk to you, Mike, a little bit about Pikes Peak, maybe some of your experience here. Love to know if you've been here before, don't honestly know myself, and then also a little bit about the program. Ford's been doing a lot of Pikes Peak over the last few years. Maybe you can share the why, and why the heck, why are you doing this? Because it's not cheap, but it's really cool.
Yeah, well, I asked myself that question, to be honest. I came to Pikes Peak in 2023 with Supervan 4.2, which was our first. We built Supervan 4, then we thought, well, what can we do to make Supervan 4 better? And we thought, where can we go? And we came up with this concept of thinking, if we took this to Pikes Peak, that would be quite extraordinary. And we did. So we took this essentially transit van, and when we unveiled it in the tech line on the Monday morning, people were quite surprised. Even when we were testing throughout the week and then the weeks before and where it had been seen, it was quite a surprise. But then when we turned up on the tech line and people saw this transit van, and whoever's seen the YouTube videos of some of the reaction of people, it was quite surprising. So yeah, it wasn't really a difficult choice. It was, what can we do to make Supervan? And for all of you that know the Supervan series, it's a legacy from 1971. So it's deep rooted in our company of the legacy of Supervans. And so to make Supervan 4.2 and then bring it to Pikes Peak and do what it did was quite extraordinary. So that kind of got us back in love with the whole concept of Pikes Peak and what we can do at Pikes Peak. And when you come with such a big vehicle like Supervan, you then think, well, what can you do next? And then that's where Zach and the team, then they started working with Super Truck, and then Super Truck came afterwards, and it's, well, what do you do after Super Truck? And then here we are. So, but why Pikes Peak? I think mainly just because it's one of those unique, it's historic, it's unique, and it's a test bed. It's as I love the American sayings. What's one they use today that I really like? Turn and burn. But Melissa calls it one run and done. There is no room for mistakes, no room for error. You can do all the testing you like, but once you're on the start line, you get one go. You don't get to do laps and practice and qualifying and testing. You do qualifying, but that's one small sector of the mountain on one day. You might get, today we got 2 runs each, which is almost nothing, and you're expected to then drive the 13 miles, up to 14,000 feet. You go through all of the extremes, from the lower section being, say, relatively smooth, more GT-like. Then you get to the middle section with all the hairpins. And then you get to now what Romain is not here, but what Romain will tell you, how the road evolves year on year on year. The top section is now incredibly bumpy compared to it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. So it makes trying to go fast that much more difficult. So yeah, but it gives us a whole load of learning for all sorts of things. And that's why we keep coming back and why we love it.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the goals for this year. Last year, you guys, if I remember correctly, really got the record of last year with Super Truck. I mean, it was really fast. And so this year, are you going to try to beat it? Are you going for an overall record? What's the goal?
The goal is always to go faster than the year before. Unfortunately, we had a small technical issue last year, so we didn't beat the Supervan. Although Romain was king of the mountain, we didn't go as fast as Supervan 4.2. But this year, yeah, we're confident. I'm looking at Manfred at the minute. That we're confident we are going to blow that out the park this year.
Okay, that's exciting. Can we talk a little bit about the car? Zach, maybe you can tell us just a bit about what we're looking at here, because behind us we have a NASCAR and sort of a Super Aero Pikes Peaky thing. What underneath, are they similar at all? What are these two cars?
Yeah, I'd say starting out, it's been a very year of the Mach-E, I would guess, in the demonstrator world. So we have our NASCAR BEV we released at season launch, and then this is our new Pikes Peak car. Similar powertrains, both derived from our partners with Starred, but other than that, I mean, this is a full ground-up rebuild. So Super Truck versus Super Van was like an evolution of the same improvements on. This one was a throw everything new at it. Let's show the expertise of Ford Performance and what we did from the doing chassis setup stuff in aero work to full redesign.
Yeah, so I'm looking, I really want to focus on the Pikes Peak car, and we're going to make a whole video later on, like for an hour, about nerding out about everything, so stay tuned for that later on. But, so aero-wise, I keep hearing this 6,000 pounds of downforce thrown around. Can you quantify that? Can you share, like, what it actually is up at the mountain where there's less air density, and what are we looking at here? Yeah, so at sea level, at 150 miles an hour, we're at 6,900 pounds. To put that into perspective, as we were having breakfast with Romain this morning, and we did some testing in Europe, it's more downforce than like an LMDH car currently. It's so much downforce. But we need that. Like as you gain in elevation, you lose air density, and when you lose air density, you lose performance on aero. So
we have to push as hard as we can to get the most aero, and on top of that, it's an aero efficiency thing. As everyone here as an EV driver knows, range matters. So what we can say with the drag, we reduce our impact on how much we lose in our battery performance capacity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're always playing. You really, actually, for this particular one, you just need the car to get to the top and make power all the way up there. But we're going to get into drivetrain in a bit. Before we do that, though, there's also completely new chassis from last year, like you mentioned. So that also brings along new suspension, new wheels, new supporting components. Like, can you give everyone just a bit more background on some of the chassis tuning and stuff that went into this?
Yeah, so one of our key focuses this year was lightweighting the vehicle as much as possible. From that was looking at, suspension, what could we do differently? One, to control the car better. So we went from outboard suspension, so a more traditional, like on Super Truck and Super Van, of double A-arms with a single strut, to inboard suspension, and we went to a third element. So there's two rocker arms to two different springs with a third element in the middle that's connected. So on the suspension side, there's that. And then with that, we redesigned the uprights. So now they're 3D printed titanium uprights. We have carbon brakes instead of carbon ceramic brakes. Full redesign.
How much does it weigh?
Right now we're at 1521. So it's about a little under 100, or a little over 100 kilograms lighter than a Super Truck, 250 kilograms lighter than Super Van. So, yeah. Well,
that'll help with all the tight corners and stuff coming up. One thing we didn't talk about at all were expected conditions coming up this weekend. Do you know? I haven't looked at the weather, but what are you expecting the conditions to be like for the run?
I mean, hopefully as good as today. It was really nice weather. That being said, yesterday we were at the top of the mountain, and there was ice and snow at the top. So it's kind of still one of those things. Depends. It's a mountain. It's ever-changing weather.
So I know the big focus this year, of course, like we discussed, is lightweighting and all of the chassis and suspension components, but maybe you can just share a little bit on some of that start component as well with battery, motors, what makes the thing go, because that was always the most impressive part of watching, Super Truck and Super Van go up the hill, and then you realize you're only running 3 of the 4 motors that the thing can handle, which is insane.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's a partnership with STARD. Definitely, we work together hand in hand, weekly meetings, almost daily meetings, to be honest. And we're pushing on our front that we control, and they push on their front that they control. So this is an evolution of their same motors that they've been using. Similar motors to the Mach-E, Super Vans, Super Truck. It's just the newer version with a little bit more power, a little bit more efficient.
I'm excited to hear this thing go up the hill, and really kind of just to it's fun to talk about this car and watch this one-off demonstrator go up the hill. And yes, I mean, I wish I could buy this exact car. Like, it would be great if you could just sell this. But Mike, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, just Ford in general spending so much money on the racing programs. It's really cool. I think racing is so important to creating a brand image and getting, enthusiasts, like we have a bunch of Mach-E and Lightning owners here today, excited about what the brand is doing. But it would be really cool to see some of the stuff that you're learning up on the hill translate into some future product. Is there a direct line there?
There is. I mean, firstly, you mentioned about the racing. Our company was founded on racing. That's how Henry Ford started. He was racing, then he started the car company. So our heritage in racing is, not in debate in that regard. But in terms of the learnings, they are, am I going to tell you that the motor in here you're going to suddenly see in your Mach-E? Unlikely, but what I
would vote for it, though. It would be great.
Well, there'll probably be quite a few voters. But what we do get are, if you like, I'll even use the word subconscious learnings. All the work we do, even with what we're doing with STARD, what we do in our driver in the loop simulators, what we're doing with all of our aerodynamicists, what we're doing with our vehicle dynamicists, all the tools that we use that are continually developed. We're just, the suspension makeup on this vehicle is similar to what will be on our LMDH. Not the same, but it's similar. So are we going to say what we're going to learn here will go directly into LMDH? No. But in terms of our development of the tools, the processes, the simulations, all of that goes into what goes into our road cars. You know, the driving simulators are used by the road car teams as well as the race car teams. So there's so much that we do generally, you know, in all of our engineering prowess and processes that just end up helping develop our road cars. So yeah, the link is direct and it is there, but just not with physical parts, let's say.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to give the engineers and also just the whole company something exciting to work on. Like, you know, not to say the road cars aren't exciting, but we're not talking 1,000+ horsepower monsters necessarily. And it's really cool to show what electric is capable of as well. Can you talk about, you know, maybe company perception of doing stuff like this, electric versus gas?
Yeah, I mean, whether it was gas or electric, I think, you know, there's certain parts of the company that really, you know, the guys that are involved in the electrification side of the business, obviously they get super hyped and super excited about such a project. Everybody does. But whether it's an ICE product or it's an EV product, the halo effect that we get from doing this type of project within the company, you can't measure in reality, because see, some people, you know, we in any company, we've got car enthusiasts, we've got non-enthusiasts. But when you bring some passion, you know, like I think Ford Performance brings to our company, that kind of then gives a bit of a groundswell for everybody else. And the more people we can get involved in various aspects within our company, whether that be rapid manufacturing or whether it be materials analysis, whether it be, I mean, it could be absolutely anything that's not directly, you know, are they here putting spanners on the car? No. But have they advised us on a material spec or a makeup or a process, you know, and then they'll start making those parts for us, and they'll send us some prototypes, and it's like, you know, that's the kind of thing that really enthuses the employees, the company, and also drives us forward, because, you know, we want to be better, they want to be better, and it's this kind of project that gives them that inspiration.
It's exciting from my side as an enthusiast of both combustion and electric. I like to see things go fast, and that's what this is built to do, and that's really cool. I think perhaps we can open it up. We have time just for like 1 or 2 questions if anyone wants to ask Mike or Zach anything while they're up here.
Yeah, so it's a 50 kilowatt battery, and yeah, we designed it so it is 100% when we started at the starting line, and we were at 2% SOC when we got to the top, so we try to go as much as we can.
But that's also why, you know, so it's a 50 kilowatt hour battery, as Zach said, and there's a very defined, you know, if you like, methodology and modelling you need to do, because as Carl said, we're running 3 motors, not 4, so the vehicle's capable of over 2,200 horsepower, but we won't run that on the mountain because we want to, you know, in terms of the bigger the battery, the more it weighs. So there becomes a crossover between how much weight you want to carry in battery versus how much power you can deploy. And then there's a sweet spot to get you from, as Zach said, from the bottom to the top in the fastest time. So, you know, but you're right, exactly that. We calculate what we do is from the bottom to the top, we use all the battery. It has 700 kilowatts of regen, so which is huge. Yeah.
So I know the mountain is a challenge because you have altitude, you have just narrow roads, you have debris on the roads, and then at the top it gets bumpy. Like, what is like the one that keeps you up the night the most? Like, out of all of those different challenges?
We need Romain for that one. He'll be here. Like, you can ask. Romain's coming at in half an hour, so you can have a good chat with him. I think the whole for everybody involved in the team. It's a very narrow mountain road, and the speeds they do are quite extraordinary. And when you watch some of the onboards and you see some of the movements of the vehicle, you then kind of realise that you need a driver like Romain to actually deliver what you believe is possible. So, you know, it's one of those. I think all through testing, from my experience anyway, all through testing is not an issue, because when you're testing, most drivers will drive within their limits. You know, they all, you know, because you're testing. When it comes to race day, then it's almost, for me, everything just goes into slow motion. You know, it's as if you stop breathing, as if all the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. All you actually really want, you know, you actually want to go fast, but what you really want is you just want him to get to the top, because you know what he's doing is so extraordinary, and it is to witness it and watch it real time is actually quite tough, because really all you do want is for him to get to the top, and that, you know, but that's what makes a racing driver, and I'm sitting here.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. Yes, it's a dangerous race. It's really exciting. As someone who lives in Colorado, I love to see motorsport in our state. And I'm wishing you all the best. Seems like the car. Seems like you've definitely got the driver. And now we just need to see what happens this weekend. So we wish you the best of luck. Thank you guys for taking the time. Thank you guys for listening in as well.
But we're going to make a video going up Pikes Peak. We're here for the race.
Hi.
Hi.
Cool.
Welcome
Thanks
to America's Mountain.
Woohoo! Awesome.
Get your reservations beforehand.
Absolutely.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a
What's
great
your
day.
name?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Bye, Charlie.
Yeah.
Have a good
great
day.
time.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
As you can tell, we just entered the Pikes Peak hill climb.
We're doing it at 25 miles an hour, which is the speed limit all the way to the top of this 14,100 and something foot mountain. We are in a 2025 Mustang Mach-E.
They've been driving this multiple times. They like in recent days, obviously before that too, but they probably drove this a couple times this morning.
Yeah.
He had to do qualifiers, and the terrain that you see is the terrain that they experience. So everything that you're seeing right now, there's not going to be anything different. It's not like there's going to be, you know, a sweeping cruise clearing it off. This looks pretty nice, right?
And
this is not bad.
By the way, we
Yes.
don't know where the actual start line is.
And there's from what we saw last week, there's going to be a big sign, and I can't remember where it is, but I think it's pretty soon. So we should see that, and we're assuming that that's the start. But
I don't know.
Notice the road quality. There are bumps and divots and everything, but it gets worse. It gets way worse, and they're taking that at like 100 miles an hour. So think about that with everything that you see.
The mountain has its own almost like climate. We have a lot of wind down here. When we came up a week ago, thunderstorms are rolling in. I think the weather is going to be great today as well as for the whole weekend. But that's something they have to deal with. And it's really interesting, like doing 25 miles an hour, it's not like it's that big of a deal. But when you are doing 100 miles an hour and you have a side wind and then you come around the corner and then it's like a wind from complete opposite direction, it becomes an issue. So there's a lot of things that they have to compensate for. I think that was a text message. But yeah, it's just such a interesting course to have to attack, and look at how the trees are bending, the aspen trees.
Yeah.
It's really windy.
Start.
Oh, start.
Oh, it says start. It didn't say start before. They were still putting that sign up. So that's so cool. We're officially in it. We're in the Pikes Peak hill climb. Ah!
Let's go.
Zoom. I know. I was slowly. Oh my gosh.
No, just kidding.
Just kidding. But literally, now is where they start. So all of this is going to be like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
What more? I mean, so spoiler, we got to see the Super Mustang Mach-E take a track. We were like right there, just us and a handful of people, and it was really, really cool. And they went 230 kilometers an hour.
About 160 miles an hour.
And they were like, oh, you're just going for a little stroll. Just a little stroll. It was really cool.
Well, they have it basically detuned for Pikes Peak. So
Yeah.
it's only has 1,400 horsepower, but in other configurations, it will have over 2,000 horsepower. And it's like they don't need the extra horsepower. What they need is downforce to have a quick time on Pikes Peak.
And it has over 6,000 pounds of downforce.
6,900 pounds at 150 miles an hour at sea level. I was trying to get an answer and never got it, of like how much downforce do they have at the top. So anyways,
We should ask that again.
I'll see if I can find out.
But I absolutely love that, like, exactly where we are right now, where we are crawling at 30 miles an hour. And like, this is not bad, but like, imagine this at 100 plus miles an hour, 160, whatever. And it, like Patrick said, it gets way worse. It gets way worse. It was really cool yesterday speaking with one of the engineers, and he talked about how the drivers get to know the terrain so well and the different times of day that like there's certain places where you can barely even see the road. Like the switchback is so tight. So some of the drivers
With the sun in your eyes.
With the sun in your eyes. So some of the drivers will like at that exact moment cover their their eyes from the glare, even while they're driving a switchback and 100 miles an hour, whatever it is. And you can see here the padding that they
The
put
red
in.
sign of it.
The sign as well. But all of these Pikes Peak hill climb, what are they? Straw sacks.
Yeah, that's not going to do too much.
Not going to do too much. But so yeah, some of those switchbacks where you got to cover your eyes. Apparently, some of the drivers even will just like look down at the corner and like not look up. So there's so many challenges that are beyond even the terrain and the altitude and the roughness of the roads, but also like the glare and like how to physically react to these kind of speeds. It's really, really cool. Like we looked inside the Super Mustang Mach-E and I saw 4 GoPros, right?
Yeah, they're going to get a lot of footage.
A lot of cool footage, and you see it from every angle and you can watch him reacting. And I thought, like, looking at him drive, like the amount that he's moving is more than I thought it would be.
Yeah, you'd think
It's
it would be just like me. Like I'm just very smoothly turning the wheel. And we saw some of his footage and it's literally like,
But like it's minute adjustments probably in
Yeah.
comparison to the way that they tune it.
the other thing that I thought was neat is there was a map of the route
Oh, I didn't see that.
in the car. And I was sort of like, doesn't he already know this like the back of his hand? Like this is his 10th time. And of course, 10th race. That means he's practiced on it a lot. And they said that what that is for is like he knows this curve like in his mind what this curve is, but if he noticed like there was some instability or something like that in the car going around this sweeping curve, he can go curve 33. I felt this, and then the engineers that are collecting all of the data will also be able to reference that and go like, oh, okay, let's see where the data, what happened at that curve. And they were saying that one time he was like, it felt loose. And what they ended up figuring out was like, there was like a 30-mile-per-hour tailwind. So his downforce was lessened because he wasn't having as much of a headwind. And they also have a P-tube, which is basically a way for aircraft to measure the wind speed.
Oh, that's not what I thought that was going to be for.
Yeah. But yeah. So they actually have one on the Super Mustang Mach-E. We're now above the tree line, like just like that. We're above the tree line, and this is a very sharp switchback.
gosh.
There's a Rivian.
Hey, looking cute. I'm just like, here, okay, can you see that? Like, it's like there's just edge right ahead. There's just edge. This is insanity. It's insane. And there's just plummeting. I'll get this. Woo. Like, there's nothing down there.
And I think this is where we were in the Countryman, and one of our cameras fell.
Oh, speaking of which.
Yeah, make sure they're on.
I'm going to make everything's on. And Patrick got such a fright.
It wasn't that big, but you just go like, whoa. And it was like, oh,
Don't do
God,
that.
we're really close to the edge here. Don't do
You
that.
really are. Like, there's no margin for error.
And if you can get
Really no
forward,
margin
extra forward,
yeah.
you can see the switchbacks coming up. I love this part so much. It's so cool.
You
Like
see the multiple switchbacks, like all the way up top.
all the way up
And then there's like 3 separate lines. So imagine this. This is incredibly perilous. Like I'm actually, last week I felt, it felt a little more real thinking about the drivers coming up and doing this. But like now, having spoken with them yesterday, seeing the actual vehicle, the Super Mustang Mach-E, I'm actually quite scared.
It used to not even be paved up at the top. And for years, the Pikes Peak hill climb has been running for 103 years. You had to build a car that could handle pavement and then up at the top of dirt road. Now it's paved all the way at the top, but I'm not sure how long ago it was paved. I think it was like 2000s. But the conditions of the pavement are changing. And this is where like you start to see big walls and we're starting to bounce around a little bit, as you can see. But the pavement, because of the harshness of the conditions up here, the pavement changes and there's more like bumps and potholes and things that are sort of in the center line that don't bother us because we're staying in our lane. But with the cars trying to hit top speeds, they're crossing over that center line, and there's some roughness in that as well.
That is, I did not think of that. Yeah, that's crazy. It's even rougher.
It doesn't really look like much, but you'll start seeing us bouncing a little bit more.
Yeah.
As I just want you guys to experience
see
that.
this. Yeah. We're taking you along for the ride as we try emulate or sort of somehow try experience what they might experience. Just speed up this video like 300%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then that'll be like.
And you can sort of see, it may be hard, but you can sort of see like the lines get a little bit wavy and we start bouncing up and down. They did change the suspension for the Super Mustang Mach-E compared to the Lightning to make it behave better or get less upset, as they said, coming over some of these bouncy bits at the top. And this is where it's most precarious. Like you get a little airborne.
Terrifying.
Our other friend, Cash Singh, he has a 27 Mustang, and he drives from Vegas, enters the car in Pikes Peak, and then drives home in the car. It's so cool. He doesn't trailer it out here, but he said like it feels like you get airborne up at the on these bits up at the top.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's it's getting bumpy. It's hopefully you can see like the ridges of the road ahead. Like all of those little wiggles, our cameras are smoothing it out. It is bumpy. Look at this. Oh my
You can
God.
just see our heads bouncing, and then it's just like boing, boing.
Whoa.
And we're doing 27. Try that at 50 miles an hour, and it's
You think only 50?
well, whatever. I'm just saying, even double it, it's
Yeah.
gonna get dodgy.
Actually, I can't even imagine that at 50.
One of the great things about an EV, number one, you save your brakes on the way down, going up a mountain, going up and down a mountain. But the other thing is like these cars here lose 40% of their horsepower at this 14,000 feet up above sea level. 40% of their horsepower. So that's a crazy amount of power loss for them. Of course, we're only doing 25. It's not that big of a deal. But like an electric car loses 0 of its power. Turbo and supercharged engines, it's not quite as bad. But I think that's just a cool fact. And that's one of the reasons why Ford Performance has a electric car that they're entering in these races.
I think that is huge. I think that's incredibly huge. Like, these are performance vehicles, and how much opportunity they provide while like very few downsides is kind of incredible.
We also saw the
windy.
NASCAR Mustang Mach-E demonstrator prototype, and it's not ready for doing a 500-mile NASCAR race, but for doing this like 12-mile Pikes Peak race, it's perfect. And this is the top.
We're at the top, and it's so windy. We're going to show you guys how windy it is, because that's something to consider too, that these vehicles are speeding and also being impacted by the wind, which is just so unpredictable. This is crazy. Oh my goodness, we were just about to start filming, and then we met our twin with the Mach-1.
Yes.
I didn't even know your name, just that you have a Mach-1 blog.
Yes, I have a Mach-1, and it is a Pro-Charged, Supercharged Mach-1 Mustang, and my name is Kate Rose. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm local too. Are you guys from here too?
No, we
used to be.
live here, but yeah.
Yeah. How cool you guys came out.
Oh my gosh, we're so thrilled. So you
Yeah.
have to come to this many times, right?
I have. Yeah, it's been a few years, but yeah, today I'm out in it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm so glad we got to meet you.
Yeah.
Kate Rose, is that the name of your channel?
Yes, it
That's
is.
super fun. Mach-1, Mach-E.
We'll put a link down in our description, and we'll say hi. We'll come make a comment or something.
Reach out to you guys. Follow you on Instagram.
Sweet.
Yes.
Subscribe. I'll like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe. All right.
So on that note, now comes to a close our time here in Colorado Springs at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb shenanigans, the whole week of fun.
Yeah, it's been such a great week. It's so cool to see the excitement around the car now. We've been seeing it all week and trying to share that excitement. Now that it's here out at FanFest, people are just like checking it out. They're, looking at the rear diffuser, tapping on it to see if it's carbon. So it's just exciting to see everybody else's excitement. We are going to wrap this video up. We will talk about the race results because that's happening on Sunday. today. Of course, we don't know those right now, but that'll be the last part of the video. But we'll say goodbye before then.
So thank you so much for joining us for this video in which we came to Colorado Springs for the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, where we saw the most Super Mustang Mach-E of all. But we so appreciate you guys for tuning in here to the Mach-E vlog, to our patrons for supporting us. The names are scrolling across the screen right now. This is crazy. People are having so much fun. So we're gonna go. Thank you to our YouTube members too. And on that note, just remember that whatever you drive, whether it is a Super Mustang Mach-E or not, enjoy the ride.
Bye.
This is a Mach-E, so it has to get fancy pony. I have to do a shout out, by the way, to Marlene. She has the beautiful rapid red.
Here, let me just go in this way.
Probably seen. Patrick's in a pecan, but she fancy ponied this back at the Cars and Coffee. Was that just yesterday? Just yesterday. And it's still in there, so I love that they must have found it and kept it. So we're gonna put our own fancy pony in there. Gonna go make friends with her. There we go. Very cute. I love that the fancy poniness is spreading. The Mach-E's are the ultimate fancy ponies, of course. And this NASCAR one, pretty fancy, but the Super Mustang Mach-E, that's the fanciest of all.